Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org. golf.breck.org.
Hosting the reigning Cup champion Panthers. American Olympic swimmer Gary Hall Jr. gets his 10 Olympic medals replaced today. They were destroyed when Hall lost his home in the Pacific Palisades fire in January.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, I'll tell you the players left in the postseason who have the most to gain from winning a championship. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Go to Brad Crawford from 24/7 Sports here in about 15 minutes from right now. Saints going to begin rookie minicamp later this week, and this guy is going to be part of the proceedings for the Saints.
Jet sweep going nowhere. Jaheim Bell, a little flip forward, and he was met by Jasheen Davis in the back.
Jasheen Davis is probably, of all the players I've coached at Wake Forest, might have one of the best motors. That guy just goes from the start of the snap to the end of the whistle. He has a tenacity and intenseness that he just never, ever quits on a play. And he's developed into being an outstanding pass rusher, a good leader, and just a really strong overall football player.
That was Dave Clawson at ACC Media Days before the 2024 season about Jasheen Davis. Goes by JD. He's a New Orleans Saints defensive end. Good enough to join us now. JD, it's our pleasure, man. How are you?
Yes, sir. I'm good. I appreciate you for having me.
Man, we appreciate you for taking a few minutes here. Hey, you hear your coach talk about your motor. Of all the guys he's coached all those years at Wake Forest, the best motor he's ever seen. You hear that. What do you think?
Well, it's an honor, to hear that from Coach. He recruited me out of high school, so, the fact that he took a chance on me, he recognized, my talent, and to go there at Wake and, to fulfill everything that, that I was set up to do, and just to have a coach like Coach Clawson, there watching over me and, just giving me the tools in order to be the best version of myself, whether it was on the field or off the field. So, yeah, it was just, it was an honor to, hear him speak highly about me because, at the end of the day, he was my head coach, and he gave me the opportunity to play at an institution like Wake Forest. So, I was blessed enough to, leave an impact there.
25.5 sacks, 51 TFLs, third in school history in those numbers. Yeah, dude, I'd say you left a pretty big impact there. But you also signed during the COVID year. Did you think with COVID, when your freshman year was the COVID year, that may change your path through college instead of staying at Wake for 5 years? Did the COVID year disrupt anything for you?
I feel like maybe it just gave me an extra year, to be honest. That first year, that COVID year, it was just like a free year. So, being a true freshman, I was able to, go through the transition without having to worry about, too much playing time. Because I feel like that allowed for me, to get acclimated, for moving out of state from the state of Georgia to North Carolina, my first time being on my own. It was a lot to, to handle. But I feel like within that year, given that the year itself was tough, it just allowed for me, to just become equipped for, what life has to offer.
You mentioned being from Georgia, from Snellville. Did you grow up a Falcons fan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. No, I love this.
I know. My family was a Falcons fan, so when I got the opportunity from the Saints, I was blessed, man. And first and foremost, I want to thank the Saints for giving me the opportunity. That this is something that that I dreamed of since I was a little boy, since I was 6, since I first started playing football, and the fact that that I'm still in the South region, that I'm still close to home, even though I'm away from home. I just feel like that it allowed for my family to come to the games. But yeah, my family, we were Dirty Bird fans growing up. But now I'm with the Saints, man. So now it's time to take it home now.
All right, JD. So you signed with the Saints. You call your family and you're like, all right, who dat? What do they say?
Well, they're gonna have to say it for that week. They're gonna have to say it.
Just that week?
I already know. When that time comes, we play the Falcons twice a year. So, each and every time that week comes up, man, it's just like college and high school all over again, to be honest. It's just on a magnified level. Just like high school, college rivalries, but now, it's just NFL rivalries, man. It's just growing up, it's just watching it. I know how intense those games are, So just being on the other side, I mean, it's something that, I'm excited to be a part of.
Hey,
so, just getting on to work and just daily deposits every day.
I would just like to congratulate you, JD. You're finally on the right side. I mean, you know what it's like to walk into a building where you can see a Lombardi trophy. It's great, man. You'll get to see that this week. Hey, did Jasheen Davis is our guest, Saints defensive end. Did you have a lot of contact with the Saints throughout the whole pre-draft process?
I've spoken with them a couple of times, but I wouldn't say like a lot of contact. I've spoken with tons of teams and stuff like that. So going through the draft process, it was a once in a lifetime experience, and I had teammates before me, that went through the same experience, so they kind of gave me, tips because during that time you can talk to any team, but sometimes it might be the team that you least expect might come pick you up or draft you, and that's just what happened in this situation. And at the end of the day, what I'm saying, it's an opportunity that I can't wait to take advantage of. So I'm just ready to get to work.
Yeah, man. It's so if I asked you, the minute before the draft started, if I said, all right, JD, like true to serum in the veins, where do you think you're going to land? Based on all the pre-draft meetings, convos, everything, like where did you think you were going to go?
Well, that's a good question. To be honest, I couldn't say. Because it was like I could have ended up in Jacksonville, could have ended up in California, Ohio. Like it just could have been anywhere. Like I said, I spoke to tons of teams and stuff like that, so I can't really dial in exactly. But I mean, I ended up in the South, ended up in Louisiana. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
man.
it's my first Louisiana, so it's gonna be an experience. But I know it's gonna be a great experience.
Did your phone ring during the draft?
But not really.
Okay.
But it was just antsy, during that draft time, man, it was a once in a lifetime experience, I had all my family, my friends there, to be honest, I was kind of, disappointed, not getting drafted or whatever. But like I said, the Saints, called right afterwards and, they gave me the opportunity and I'm ready.
So, and Jasheen Davis is our guest, edge out of Wake Forest, one of the greatest pass rushers in the history of that program, now with the New Orleans Saints. So whenever my audience has heard me say this a bunch, JD, but whenever the draft ends, like you got like 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Like the phone's ringing, you got to decide where you're going to go. So you and your agent, I'm sure, already had your plan mapped out. But how many teams called? Who were you deciding among? And ultimately, what was it with New Orleans that led you to pick them?
Well, for one, I just feel like that New Orleans, looking at their depth chart, I feel like that, I had an opportunity to come in and, just to make a name for myself. And I feel like that, also, it's within close proximity. I'm not against, going across country or whatever, but I feel, if anybody had the option, to either stay close to home, they'll choose that any day. So I feel like that, the Saints, it was just a perfect opportunity for me. And plus, we're still in the NFC South, so we get to play the Falcons, you get to play, Tampa and all those, those cities and those nearby states, you know what I'm saying? So it just allowed for, my family to come to the games, my friends and everything. So I just feel like that, the Saints were just, the best option for me.
Dude, I love this NFC South energy, man. This is so good. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out, man. So did you get a chance to talk to Brandon Staley, anybody on the Saints coaching staff about role and fit within the defense or anything like that?
Oh, no, not yet. But
okay.
As I get closer to when I get down there, I'm going to get a chance to get in contact with all the coaches, I've spoken to one, but we just did, like the introductory things and everything. So once I get down there, I'm going to get plugged in and everything, regardless of whatever position I play. At the end of the day, it's football. And, now it's just opportunity, just to play at the highest level. And, man, it just, it's the same goal in a new environment. And, that's just the number one thing, just to make a name for myself. I feel like, I had to do that all my life. But now, it's just ground zero, square one. And like I said, the Saints, I'm thankful that, they gave me the opportunity, to even have the chance to play in the NFL, because it was a lifelong dream. But now that I'm here, I'm just trying to stick. So that's the main goal.
JD, what do you think you have to work on the most between now and training camp to make the team?
I would just say the speed of the game. Now, you're going from 18 to 22-year-olds to, at least at minimum 23 to 40-year-olds. So, just understanding, the different elements of the game that makes, good players into great players. I feel like at this level, everything is all about technician and everything. And, the number one thing is motor and effort. And I feel like that, that's the fundamentals of football. And if you got the fundamentals of football, then, it could take you very far, And I just feel like that, just to learn from the vet and understand, what it took for them to get to where they are. So, as I, go along on this journey, it just allows for me to just learn and grow and just to be the best football player, the best person I could be.
Man, I know you went to Shiloh. That's where David Pollock went to high school, man. You ever, you know him? You ever get talk to him, see him play or anything? They got like shrines to David Pollock at Shiloh, retired jersey or anything?
I mean, the only thing that I have seen from David Pollock was just, that he'd be on TV and everything, but I haven't really spoken to him personally or nothing like that. But I go to my high school, I'm actually at home right now, and I went to my high school the other day. So, I like to go back, just to check in with my coaches and everything, just to see, how the school's up and running. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't been there in like 5-6 years now, being that I was in college and everything. So now just being back home for the meantime, it's just good to just be back in my environment, back in my area.
Yeah, man. You said you've never been to Louisiana.
No, sir. I never been to Louisiana.
Well, man, you have some bowls of gumbo when you're here next week. You're going to eat good down here, man. It's going to be great. Get ready for it. JD, Jasheen Davis, Wake Forest defensive end, now New Orleans Saints defensive end, Jasheen Davis, be at rookie minicamp this weekend. Hey, man, best of luck to you throughout the process. We can't thank you enough for taking a few minutes today, man.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I appreciate you guys having me on the call. And, best of luck to you guys, too. Thank you.
Thank you, man. It's our pleasure. Jasheen Davis out of Wake Forest. Dude, you look at the numbers. Undeniable, man. Over the course of his career, more than 50 TFLs, 25 and a half sacks. Dave Clawson said the best motor on any player he's ever coached. When you're talking about a Saints defense that was bottom of the half of the league last year at rushing the passer, you need edge rushers. Well, there's one with a ton of skins on the wall who's got the size as well. 6'3", 270 pounds. Let's see if we can go get it, man. That's one to watch. All right, it's after further review. LSU football landed another transfer, the number one portal class, and Brad Crawford from 24/7 thinks very highly of this 2025 Tiger team. He'll join us next on AFR.
AFR.
I love telling you about Action Industries and the Advanced Turnaround Group. Look, we all know you live in Louisiana. The petrochemical, the refinery markets, those plants up and down the river, they mean so much to our state's economy. They allow our communities to thrive. So many of your relatives, friends, neighbors, work in those plants and support their families that way. Well, Action Industries does work in those plants. And you know as well as I do, you don't get hired inside the fence without an exceptional safety record and doing great work. Action Industries, their safety record beats the industry standard. And look, when you rely on repeat business, when you're around for 43 years, it means you've been rehired a lot. It's Action Industries. And of course, the Advanced Turnaround Group is the turnaround arm of Action Industries. Learn more. Action, INDINC.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
LSU added AJ Haulcy to its portal haul over the weekend. 18. Either the number 1 or number 2 portal class in the country, depending on whatever service you look at. Well, Brad Crawford's with 24/7 and CBS Sports, and he sees what a lot of us see, which is probably the most talented roster Brian Kelly's ever had. He's got a nice piece up right now. If you want to go read it, we'll make sure we tweet it and link it out there. Pressure mounts on Brian Kelly as LSU secures 2025 transfer portal haul that must yield championship results. Brad, we appreciate you as always, man. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to the season, and glad transfer portal season is pretty much over.
I know, man. Does it ever actually end, though? Even when the portal window's closed, there's still guys that could pick schools, and you got grad transfers. It never really stops.
Yeah, I think for now the remaining best available is G5s to other G5s. So I think within the SEC, all the big dogs have signed.
What do you think, as you define a season that must yield championship results, what would you define as acceptable, quote-unquote, championship results for LSU in 2025?
Yeah, I think they have to be in the SEC championship conversation in November, coming down the stretch. I mean, I pretty much said in my column today, man, that if this program fails to make the playoff here in Brian Kelly's 4th year with the best roster that he's had in Baton Rouge, I would consider it a failure. I think Alabama and LSU both, those two programs right now are on great footing to make a playoff appearance. I don't know if they're going to win out championship, but certainly you bring Garrett Nussmeier back, a guy that I've projected to be the top pick in next year's NFL draft. He's my number 1 quarterback ahead of Arch Manning. So I just find it very interesting that, I think Brian Kelly sees the same expectations all of us media types do. It's playoff or bust for Baton Rouge.
It's why he's in Baton Rouge, right? I mean, he left Notre Dame because he thought he could win a championship here, and he's finally got the resources and seemingly the roster to do it. Look, you take more of a 10,000-foot national view where we're super hyper-focused on LSU and the SEC. When you look at what LSU is coming back and what they've added, how do you think this roster stacks up with the top rosters nationally?
I think at linebacker, it's one of, if not the best, 2 linebacking core in college football, Weeks and Harold Perkins. I mean, Harold Perkins 3 years ago was one of the top freshmen in the country, battled through the knee injury, and now I think he's going to be a pivotal factor in this championship race. They added who I consider the fastest player in college football in Barry Brown. Maybe he wasn't the wideout a lot of UK fans expected, but, man, a lot of that had to do with just bad quarterback play in Lexington, and now he gets to, have balls thrown to him by Garrett Nussmeier. The one question I have, if there is one for LSU, is the offensive line. Lost a lot of talent up there, including, tackle Will Campbell, who's not only a great player on the field, but was a great locker room lead as well. I think Brian Kelly would tell you the same. And then Caden Durham back at running back, a guy that I think will have 200-plus carries and get to that 1,000-yard mark. So I like every position group for LSU. I haven't mentioned both the new edge rushers and, Pyburn from Florida, who I don't understand why Florida didn't match LSU's offer or even exceed it to keep their best edge rusher. That was a huge loss that no one is talking about in Gainesville.
Brad Crawford is with us. He's on Twitter at bcrawford247. Give him a follow there. I agree on Pyburn too. He's got psycho energy, which is It's like, boy, you need that on your roster. He brings it. You mentioned you got Nuss as the best quarterback return in college football, the number 1 prospect for next year. What is it about Garrett that you like so much?
There are glimpses that I've seen the last couple of years out of Nussmeier that, he just has number 1 pick written all over him, even more so than his size at 6'4", 6'5", 235-ish. I think he leads the huddle. That's That's a lot of the unwritten type thing that NFL scouts look for. You know, we haven't seen enough from Arch Manning to consider him college football's top quarterback. I know he's the Heisman front runner, but man, I need to see it happen against elite competition. And what I saw in the fourth quarter from Garrett Nussmeier against Ole Miss specifically, that, you know, great comeback in Tiger Stadium, completing several fourth downs with NFL level throws. I mean, that to me showed me that he's the gunslinger type. He's not scared to make any throw in tight windows. Maybe he turns it over a bit too much for Brian Kelly's liking right now, but I think we see a 35 touchdown, 3,000-yard season at a Nussmeier, and at the Combine next February, he's going to be a heck of a player.
You know, there's a lot of people here, Brad, having the convo about Nuss in the same way that we did with Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow. Not saying he's going to win the Heisman, but both of those guys went from good first year starting at LSU to like they hit the kaboom in their second year as a starter, fifth year in college, which is the situation that Garrett's walking into with a bevy of talent around him. When you look at LSU nationally, who are the other rosters that they stack up to? If LSU's got a potential Heisman quarterback and a playoff roster, who are the other teams that you think are right there in that conversation?
Yeah, and, to further your previous point, Jaden Daniels had Joe Sloan coming back, and so does Nussmeier. So if I'm an NFL franchise, I feel pretty good about the development at the position based on what Sloan has been able to do on BK's staff. But as far as other elite rosters, man, I really like Penn State. I mean, even James Franklin, who's known for, second half coaching gaffes, he can't mess this one up in Happy Valley. Drew Aller back. He's a top 5 pick, 2,000-yard rushers, very good defense back despite losing Abdul Carter, the third pick in the draft. I like Penn State's roster. Ohio State, I think with former Bama signee Julian Sayin at quarterback, I don't think they'll miss a beat. The one question I have with Ohio State is they lost a lot of pass rush talent up front. And I don't know if that defense, despite having Caleb Downs back at safety, is going to be as good as it was last year. But Penn State, Texas, and Ohio State are my kind of four teams and LSU are my four teams that have just superior rosters to other programs in college football.
Brad, you also today, in addition to the column about LSU, put out a way too early bowl and playoff projection. You have LSU in as a 9 seed playing Oregon, having to travel up to Eugene and losing that game. I'm interested also in your take on Alabama, because you can't really have an SEC conversation without in some way referencing what Alabama's going to do. Why are you bullish on Alabama despite losing so much from a year ago?
Yeah, man, this time last year, I was one of the few national guys who did not have Alabama in the playoff in DeBoer's first season. Feinbaum chided me for it. A lot of others did too. But I just didn't see it on paper. And this year's a little bit different because I think they're going to have better production in the passing game with Ty Simpson back there. No disrespect to Jalen Milroe, but there were times, man, where on third down, you sort of knew what Bama was. If you had the first read covered up, then Milroe was going to run it, and as long as you tackled him, which LSU did not do a good job of doing.
No, they did.
You could beat them. But I just like Bama's secondary, and the defensive line brings back L.T. Overton, the former A&M transfer, and, I mean, the pressure's on Kalen DeBoer, just like Brian Kelly. He's got to make the playoffs this season, man, or the natives in Tuscaloosa will not be pleased.
Yeah, man. I tell you, I was I agreed with you, Brett, on Bama not being great last year, as my audience well knows. I made a lot of pretty overt statements, a lot of loud yelling statements.
You weren't a Lenora Sellers fan either, and he proved you wrong in the second half.
No, actually he didn't. I think Lenora Sellers is a great athlete and a good runner. I don't think he can throw the football a lick, and I think he's massively overrated. So, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
No, and you know what? You're seeing that in mock drafts, Brad. We also saw Spencer Rattler as a first overall pick in mock drafts, and he ended up losing his job that season.
Right.
So, the way too early thing is a fun conversation to have, but I think Lenora Sellers got a long way to go, man, as far as a passer. We'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, you and I think you see eye to eye on Bama a year ago. We'll see how it goes this year. Brad Crawford on Twitter at BCrawford247. Man, always good to chat. We appreciate you for taking a few minutes today, man. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch, man.
Yeah, but it's our pleasure. Go read his stuff over there. We'll make sure we link the article. I'll retweet it and everything as well. So he's got a really good column today up about Brian Kelly and heading into this year being a champion. It's always good to get that we talk about it so much, but sometimes it's good to get a third party perspective on on the team that you cover or follow, to see what someone other than what you say, what you see every day, thinks about what you say. So anyway, Brad's got a good column up. Here it is right here. I'm going to go retweet it right now. So I just retweeted. So if you want to go follow Brad on Twitter, you can do it. I just retweeted his column. So it's a good piece, good perspective. And I don't think he's wrong. This is the year where I think Brian Kelly's got to make that move. And if he doesn't, because you're going to lose so much from this team, you're going to lose Nuss, and you're going to lose Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas and Nick Anderson and Berrien Brown and Bauer Sharp and all of these transfers that are all effectively one-year mercenaries. All the guys you just brought in, they're gone after 1 year. So you were going to have a massive turnover in 2026, including a quarterback. So it does feel like, man, this is the year. You got to go do it. In any event, we'll see how it plays out, man. Appreciate Brad for a couple of minutes. All right, David DeLucci's here in 30 minutes. We'll talk some SEC baseball with Luch coming up here in about half an hour. Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. We'll knock out a quick break. LSU got some good news on the hardwood as well this weekend. We'll talk about that as we come back on AFR.
AFR.
We are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. As a matter of fact, I had a convo with Gabe over there today. It'd been 3 weeks since I started BPC 157. It's peptide known to help and aid with recovery. Taking that for my back, and he was just checking in. He said, "I got a note in my notes to call you every 3 weeks to check on you." So I appreciate Gabe for reaching out. That's the kind of service and customer service and attention to detail you're going to get. But when we talk about Goodwood, yes, they have ED treatments, and that is part of what they do. Hormone replacement therapy, other anti-aging services like NAD, and peptides like BPC 157. If you're not familiar with all these things, it's so important to educate yourself or just start that process. If you're living in pain, maybe you feel lethargic, you don't have the energy you did, it's hard to lose weight and build muscle, all of those things, mental clarity, so much of that can be treated safely and affordably. You owe it to yourself to live your best life. Yourgoodwood.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Remember, you can always email us, tweet us, text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways that you can get involved in the show. We appreciate you for hanging out with us as always. So feel free to jump in on the text line or tweet us at Matt Moscona or at 1045 ESPN. There were pros and cons. There was good and bad this weekend for LSU. Of course, the bad is that the Tigers, unfortunately, blew a lead in the bottom of the eighth of the rubber match and let a series win, a road series win, get away from them. The good is, of course, they landed AJ Haulcy, the top transfer portal safety in the country, and an 18th commit now. And they also landed another commitment on the hardwood. And if you were here late last week, told you the Tigers were trying to get to 13 when they added Pablo Tamba from Spain, UC Davis via Spain, or Spain via UC Davis. And from UC Davis via Spain. Anyway, and that the 13th member, that they want to get one more, and it was very likely going to be an international player. And I want to remind you, and so that did happen, by the way. So on Saturday, LSU landed a commitment from Ron Zipper out of Israel. So he's a 6'4" guard. He's a lefty, sharp shooter, and he's 22 years old. He's been playing professional basketball for 4 years now in Israel. I want to remind you of this because when Ronald Dupree was hired by LSU as their new general manager, we had him on the show. And remember, Dupree played internationally, including in Israel, back in 2013, 2014. But he was most recently the director of global scouting for the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is a guy whose responsibility was to direct the international scouting efforts for this NBA franchise. Well, he takes that experience and brings it now to Baton Rouge. So naturally, LSU is going to look internationally. This is what Dupree said on this show back on April the 8th about tapping into the international markets.
Going forward in college basketball, organizations, or I would say universities and programs that do it the right way, it will look like a pro model. And internationally, there's a market there for players, young players and young amateurs, because internationally, a lot of the young players that are on these EuroLeague, EuroCup teams, they don't play a lot, but they're legitimate pro prospects for the NBA, but it's hard to tell whether they translate because they just don't play. And they don't get paid a lot. And so a lot of them want to display their talent. They're intrigued with college. They don't really have any restrictions for coming over from FIBA. So it's an untapped market, which, there's a lot of possibilities there.
I want to clip that. And I want to share that on social. It's a great perspective because I think that's also something that we're probably going to see LSU use more and more with Ronald Dupree in that role. I mean, he's telling you it's an untapped market. And this is exactly what happened. Here you have a guy who's playing professional in Israel, not making great money. It's an untapped market because colleges aren't going there. So a guy like Zipper has the option: do you stay playing professionally in Israel or in Europe or in one of the European leagues, or do you come to the United States, play college, and try to get into the NBA pipeline here? And so he's choosing that. And this is a guy at 6'4". He turned 22 in January, so he's 22 years old. He's been a pro. He was the MVP. This is a tweet from Yuval Shaham, FIBA U18 tournament MVP back in 2021. He was a starter for Israel's U20 team, which was a finalist in 2023. Notes an NBA-level three-point shooter from left-handed and a 45% career three-point shooter. 45% career three-point shooter in his professional career, which is incredible. So you're getting a dude that's 22, that has pro experience, can handle the ball, can shoot from the perimeter, sharp shooter. Yeah, man, makes a lot of sense. And that's the 13th edition now. So they should be done. They're at 13. We've kind of explained this before. In this new era, this portal rev share era, where you still have this one finite pile of money that you're going to spend on your roster. Even with roster limits going up to 15, nobody wants 15 players because if you have 15, you've got to divide the pie 15 ways in whatever way, but everybody ultimately is going to end up getting a smaller piece. So the question is, in what way can you maximize the resource you have? And so for LSU, the target number is 13, and they're there now. And barring something unforeseen, or as Brian Kelly would have referred to it, an incredible opportunity. I think they're done at 13, and clearly they've tapped into the international market, getting a Spanish player and an Israeli player to come to LSU to help fortify this roster. So that's it's an interesting get. It's shades of Dale Brown. I mean, Dale in his era, in the 90s certainly was heavily involved, 80s and 90s, heavily involved in recruiting international players here as well. I mean, famously, Arvydas Sabonis was supposed to be an LSU Tiger. They couldn't get him into the country legally, or out of his country, I guess is the way that would have gone. But in any event, a really interesting ad, and it's going to be, I think, a fascinating test case to see as you look for competitive advantages where LSU doesn't necessarily have the ability to go in home and recruit the best players from the high school level or the portal that are going to be picking Duke and Kansas and North Carolina and Kentucky. Like, you're not fishing in those waters. Well, what is an untapped market where you can go pull really good players? Well, Ronald Dupree said, I know one. Let's go get Ron Zipper from Israel. It's a 6'4" shooting guard, lefty, shoots 45%. He's 22 years old, has been a pro for 4 years. How does that sound? Okay. Like it. So you've got 13 members of your roster now for next basketball season, and 11 of them are new guys. And Robert Miller didn't play a ton, and Jalen Reed was hurt for the bulk of last year. So really, you got a whole new roster. So the onus is now on Matt McMahon and this staff to see how they can make all these new pieces gel together, learn how to play together to get this team back into the tournament, because you're going to go spend the way LSU spend, invest the resources that they have. the expectation goes up. And just very clearly, that's what it is. They went and bought a roster that should be able to compete and get into the NCAA tournament. I think that's a base level expectation and a realistic base level expectation for LSU in the 25-26 season, which is come Selection Sunday next March, you better see LSU's name pop up on one of those lines, one of those seed lines. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Mother's Day is Sunday, y'all. Remember, you can go to Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. If you need to take care of mom, they got great gift ideas over at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. As a matter of fact, on the homepage of the website, they do have a Mother's Day tab. It's Mother's Day gifts for mom. You hit the Shop Now tab, and you can see so many different things from beautiful necklaces and bracelets and pendants and rings and watches and so many awesome gift ideas for mom, no matter your budget. LMFJ.com, LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry with 9 locations in all, 2 locations in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport. Remember, at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, you'll never, ever, ever, ever see a man-made or a lab diamond in one of their cases. This isn't a science experiment. It's your expression of love to her. And so that's why every single diamond comes from the finest diamond mines in the world. Every diamond is hand-inspected by a family member before it goes into the case. Thrill her with a gift in the red box this Mother's Day from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Been a good show, man. We are cruising along through this show. Glad you're hanging out with us here. We're talking some baseball with Luch coming up here in about 18 minutes from right now. David DeLucci of the SEC Network was watching Luch on Rally Cap last night a little bit. Always does a great job with that show. We also have a date for the NFL schedule release. We'll get to that coming up in hour 3. Still a lot to do, including Otterlocks. So get your questions, comments all in. Email us, tweet us, text us. Lots of ways you can get involved. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. We'll wrap up hour number 2 next with Tigers and the Pros.
After Further Review.
Graduation season is creeping upon us, and if you have family coming in town, remind them they can always stay downtown at the Watermark, Southtown at the Renaissance. 2 amazing hotel properties, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown. Watermark, Baton Rouge's original high-rise building in downtown Baton Rouge, the old Louisiana National Bank building, gorgeous. They preserved the history while added all the modern amenities as well. It is the picture, the feel of luxury when you walk in. You want to enjoy downtown Baton Rouge and everything it has to offer. Watermark Baton Rouge is your only option. And it's walkable to the River Center. So if you're going to a graduation at the River Center, great. Maybe your graduation's at Southern or LSU. Awesome. Easy drive north of downtown or just south of downtown to Southern or to LSU. Stay there at the Watermark Hotel in downtown Baton Rouge. Of course, you can always go dine at the Gregory. They have great meeting space as well, from a dozen people up to large groups. You know where to go. It's Watermark Baton Rouge.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Wrapping up hour number 2. Glad you're rolling along with us here. Talk some SEC baseball. David DeLucci, the SEC Network, here in about 13 minutes from right now. Right now, the Musso Tigers and the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, we got some NFL to get started with here, actually. So Emory Jones, of course, 3rd-round pick of the Ravens. This is his first appearance in Tigers in the Pros. Could have been a better one. He did not take part in this weekend's rookie mini camp, and he is unlikely to do much in the rest of the offseason program. Head coach John Harbaugh said that Emory Jones is dealing with a shoulder injury and that training camp is projected to be when he's able to fully join the team on the field. Of course, started at right tackle the last 2 seasons for LSU, 3rd-round pick of Baltimore. The Philadelphia Eagles. What? I mean, don't look at me. I paused long there for you.
I was sending a text.
Huh? Gotta be on your toes. It's okay. You got another one coming up. Another really good one.
I mean, of course I do. You kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, how many dudes we got in every professional sport right now?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
I lose count sometimes. There's so many.
Made a roster move that impacts former LSU Tiger. They signed wide receiver Giles Jackson and in the process waived running back Ty Davis Price. That comes after they capped rookie mini camp. Of course, Price was a third-round pick by the Niners and only ran for 7 yards in a lone appearance for the Eagles last year. Now looking for his next destination. Josh Smith. Oh, this might be worth the second one. Josh Smith, 4 out of 5 a night ago for the Rangers. Scored twice, drove in a run. The highlight, his first triple of the season, continuing to mash well over 300. Just caps it off with a foot. He's hitting leadoff last night, too, which is a great. I mean, Josh hit leadoff excellent at LSU. He was a phenomenal leadoff hitter for Palm
Always gave you a great at-bat,
always, man. Can jump the yard for you to start a game. Can get himself in a scoring position.
Work a count.
Good speed. Left-handed bat.
Unafraid of hitting with 2 strikes. It was always the thing about Smith, man. He just didn't. He would get up there with 2 strikes. He'd still battle you. It wasn't a big deal.
4 out of 5.
That's what we do, bro. That's Calicut.
Maybe the Rangers should consider leaving him in the leadoff spot. 4 out of 5. Pretty darn good.
Maybe.
Dylan Cruz was 1 out of 4 a night ago. That was a single.
Maybe they could put Jared Jones there.
Dylan Cruz was 1 out of 4 a night ago. The average has dipped back below 200, but he's still playing pretty well. Doing a lot better than he did earlier in the year. And then Tari Eason saw his season come to an end in Game 7 a night ago, but he contributed 5 and 5 off the bench. Really solid year for Tari, having to battle through some injuries.
Too soon?
I don't know if it's too soon. It's just like, yeah, too soon. Too soon, because it just immediately, it's like, man. That's Tigers in the pros. Hey, does Ron Zipper count as a former Tiger in the pro now? Because, I mean, he came from the pros, and now he's going to be an LSU Tiger.
I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Ron Zipper, a Tiger. He went the other way.
He did.
He went in reverse.
He did.
Oh, we are brought to you by Evamore, by the way. EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Drink Evamore. Got my big 64-ounce bottle right here, as Musso and Paulie can attest, for those who are listening, not watching. Big 64. Yes, big 64.
Yeah, no, he's got it. Can't confirm.
Big 64 ounce. I drink 2 of these a day. 128 ounces of water. Got to stay hydrated. Better form of hydration. Natural artesian water. Get you some Evamore, y'all. Purge tap water out of your life. It's a natural artesian water. It's a Louisiana product. Look, we all know Muse hates Louisiana.
It's not true.
Loves Texas. But I'm encouraging you, don't be like Muse. Don't drink that crappy, crinkly water bottle from Texas. Drink a Louisiana product that's a better product, a better form of hydration. Available at great local retailers and online at evamore.com. EVAMOR, evamore.com, evamore.com. EVAMOR, evamore.com. Anyway. Sorry. This was just immediately urgent. Okay. That's when I missed the Calicut thing.
Oh,
you could have read a
Gents.
promo or something to cover for me there, Muse, while I was doing that. Promo, Phil.
What
do we got? Something over there you could do? Play some Israeli basketball highlights for Ron Zipper.
I mean,
a former. So someone did ask, actually via text. So Ron Zipper, it was Lance Richard, who said, how can a professional athlete play college basketball? Good question. Well, I'll remind you that this actually is a fairly, or it is not an uncommon practice. Matt Mauck was a professional baseball player who came back to school. Josh Booty was a professional baseball player who came back to school. So it's not altogether uncommon as long as you terminate your professional contracts and you meet eligibility requirements from the NCAA and admission requirements from the university. There are protocols that have to be followed, but it can happen that way. Now, if you're in college, if you're already in college and you forego your eligibility, or your remaining eligibility to go pro, then you can't come back, right? You can't be in college for a year, declare for the draft, be drafted, go pro, and then come back to college. But if you've never been in college, then you can, in effect, terminate those contracts and come play. So that's what's happening here with Ron Zipper, who's been playing professionally, internationally. And I asked Muse to go find me some highlights or commentary. Your coaches, Ron Zipper talking, accompanying audio. It's what we call here in the space, just accompanying audio. We do that all the time. We played the soundbite of Ronald Dupree talking about their international. So, Muse, what did you find for me?
Well, I mean, look, the kid's got a great stroke from 3, as you'll hear. I found some highlights.
Yeah, let's hear it.
עכשיו שוחמן. ציפר. יורה זריקה ראשונה, וכמובן שהוא קולע. קאץ' אנד שוט. יוצא מבפנים החוצה.
I heard a catch and shoot in there.
Yeah, you heard zipper.
Oh, is that what that was? Is that Hebrew? Is it Yiddish? I don't know.
I don't either. For what it's worth, Matt, the title of the highlight package is also in a different language. It's not written in English, so I don't know.
Probably in Hebrew.
Probably. It looks like Hebrew. Definitely Middle Eastern. I mean, I think I heard, near corner 3 there, or rainbow 3. I think that was in there.
No.
I think so. Let's see.
החוצה לסגל. החדירה. מחפשת ציפר בפינה. שוב ציפר, שוב נקודות. שלושה שלישית של רון ציפר. איזה קלעי טהור הוא.
They didn't say Rainbow 3. Are you crazy?
I think they did.
I heard Ron Zipper. I need to ask. That sounds French.
That did.
So he did. So I'm like, do we need maybe it's a French league. Maybe it's
playing in.
Maybe he's playing in France.
But the title's in Hebrew? I don't know, man.
No.
Kid's got a stroke.
I don't know. Who does the broadcast? I don't know how the international broadcast rights work. Maybe they're the Israeli team playing a French team. That didn't sound French, though. I feel like I know a little bit of French. That didn't sound French.
It didn't.
Someone
Just
who
when
knows French, tell me, was that French? Someone will tell me. Someone's way smarter than me will tell me that. All right, hour 3 is coming up here after SportsCenter.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com with locations all over Louisiana. Go to ShawBillsTire.com. I love this. I just got a text from the show text line from Alan M. who said, Matt, just leaving Shawbills on airline. They got me in and out quickly as usual. Another satisfied customer over there at Shawbills. I'm telling you, they treat you like family. Name brand tires, wholesale prices, and they'll keep you coming back because they treat you like family. You'll get great service, in and out quickly. If you decide to wait for your vehicle, love that because they got free Wi-Fi and they got a clean kitchenette with Keurig. Drink some coffee. They got flat screen TVs and comfortable furniture. There's actually times where I choose to go to Shawbills, wait on my vehicle because I can actually get work done. You bring my laptop, connect to their Wi-Fi, boom, bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. You're getting work done. You're being productive while you wait on your vehicle. It's Shawbills. Go to ShawBillsTire.com to shop tires, schedule service, find the location nearest you. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling.